All right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. Good to see you guys. Hope you're fat and happy from the holidays. It's now 2025, which I have to get used to writing and saying. We have made it through Christmas. We made it through Warren's birthday, Mom's birthday. We made it through Easton's anniversary. We made it through the beginning of the year. We got all kinds of stuff in there. So, but we have a stellar episode today because we are going to be talking a little bit about an update. Ding, 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 ding. That means something for someone. Something for someone, nothing. Maybe, I don't know. And then we're going to talk a little bit about antler growth. We'll get into more of what we're talking about on antler growth in just a minute. But before we go too far, make sure you guys are swinging by the Raised Hunting. Make sure the guys on the Raised Hunting podcast are swinging by the Raised Hunting website. And we've got Canine, whole line of Canine stuff on there. If you haven't seen it, check it out. There's some great stuff in there, especially if you guys got any kind of sporting dog, any dog that you have that gets out and still does stuff, and they're just suffering. Make sure you check out our products because I'm telling you right now, it has made all the difference in the world in a 9-year-old lab. He goes from not being able to hardly walk to like scooting down the road and no problem. The other one is Raised Scents. We don't have a lot of scents in right now. It's not that time of season, but check them out so you're ready for next year. We got some new products coming for that as well. And then on top of that, we also have Raised Nocks. So if you guys haven't been to the website, go check it out. There's also some apparel in there. But other than that, I will introduce myself one more time. I'm David Holder with Raised Hunting, and I'm joined today by Warren and Easton. I didn't even call them any names or anything, so I don't know what I'm into today. So... But my two sons are here as well. So welcome to the podcast, and here we go. Go. That's awkward silence you almost let go on there.
You're here, so I don't think we have to worry about that. Oh, there's a podcast listener. The store is calling.
Yeah, what the truck?
That's really funny. That's
we haven't
normal.
had a store call in I don't know how long.
We get more than enough during the year. So shout out Jeremy Rupsick. He said, welcome, Eli. Well, we kicked Eli out already. William Myers, SP4TT. Haven't heard from you guys since last year.
Oh, man, they're starting already.
David Harrison, 9731. He said, Josh Bomar has got the broadhead game down. My big 9 I killed this year went through 2 ribs, and the buck only ran 30 yards. Needless to say, my go-to from now on is a Victory Arrow with a Beast 2.3 with a raised knock with the switch on it, and the only way to go. Beast broadheads and the raised knocks equal deadly. Agree. I think that from a 100% unbiased standpoint, I really do believe that as far as mechanicals, I think it's the best.
The reason they're bringing that up is we talked about them last time.
Yeah, I was talking about them extensively on it.
Yeah,
on how they operate and stuff,
and pulling them out of the package and how different. Like, I felt like if the dude hasn't given it a shot yet, when you hold one for the first time, that's the best spin I've had. I've had some really good broadheads spin really well, but the one when I put it on with Dad, I was like, I don't even feel it when I was spinning on my hand.
Well, then to me, it just the fact that you can have those blades compressing when it's hitting bone. Surely he's probably done something on his Instagram or somewhere. You could measure the difference in how much energy loss compared to trying to force those
whole
two
blade
blades.
I guarantee he has, because unless he's just lying, he has on his friggin' package. They deploy at 900 mile an hour.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you he's got it in slow-mo.
Yeah.
I think that's all he does all day is play with that
slow
Phantom.
motion. Yeah.
Yeah. Back Mountain Outdoors, shout out to you, Bucky Doe Downer, and Eric Robards, 1209. All right, with that, we can get on with it.
rolling.
Today's story is actually from one of your shout-outs. That is Jeremy Rupsick. For anybody, I've had a couple people asking if you're wondering about how to get your podcast story submitted. All you have to do is send an email to contact@raisedhunting.com or go to our website at raisedhunting.com and select the podcast tab, and you can go in there and you can send in your story and everything. When we reply, you'll be able to send pictures and everything. Not updated yet, but now that we're towards the end, or now it's a new year, but out of deer season pretty well, I'll be able to catch up, and I'm going to take everybody's photos, get them on the wall. So we've got a lot to add this year. I mean, I've got a friggin' book here of stories. So keep sending them, whether it's deer or not. We love to hear them. So today's is Jeremy Rupsick, Easton and raised family. So as the subject states, on Sunday, November 24th, I was able to harvest a very nice 8-point buck with my Matthews VXR 28. I feel like I was channeling my inner Easton because this was the latest I've ever taken a buck, LOL. It was the second Sunday of the year that I am allowed to hunt for deer with my bow in southeastern PA. Saw a few young bucks at first light, just browsing. They didn't seem too interested in looking for does. Guessing the rut has slowed way down at this time of year. As the 9 o'clock hour approached, I was contemplating on when to get out. Well, when I saw a doe walking in my direction with a button buck in tow, all of a sudden, a few bucks started coming to check her and started chasing her around. I was also ready to harvest a doe, so I was yelling in my head to these stupid young bucks for ruining my opportunity to harvest that doe. Then I look up at about 100 yards out, and this beautiful heavy 8 stands there looking in the direction of all the commotion and just stayed there for a good while. As the doe started to come back my way, she took the wrong trail for her. She took the wrong trail for her sack and stepped right into my shooting lane. I'm not sure what
For her sake.
Okay. I'm like, what word was he trying to put in there?
How was it spelled?
S-A-C-K, sack.
Okay,
I
I
think it
didn't
was
know
supposed
if
to be
you
sake.
pronounced it wrong.
Watch the wrong trail for her sake and stepped right into my shooting lane at 17 yards. So I drew and watched my raised knot go right through her perfectly in the vital V and into the ground behind her. She ran right towards the big buck, and then she turned to her right and went another 50 yards and crashed. The big buck decided to go investigate her, and as he did, I knocked another arrow. He disappeared behind me in some marsh grass, so I let out a snort wheeze and a couple grunts, and a minute later, here he comes. He was walking towards the little bucks that were still hanging around. He got behind a very large branch in a tree, and I was able to drop my bow. All the while, I'm at full draw. He started sparring with a couple little guys, and then walked into a shooting lane at 15 yards. Watching the lighted raised knock on my arrow hit him slightly high in the vital V and stuck in the opposite shoulder. I watched him go about 50 yards. He stopped and fell over dead. Even though this wasn't a success story with your scents absolutely do work, and I will be using them as long as I can. This area wasn't an area I usually hunted in, so I didn't even set up any mock scrapes there. But the Nocks helped me a lot to watch my arrow fly, and I want to thank you guys for all you do and wish nothing but the most success in life, business, and happiness. Thank you, Jeremy. That was a dang good one.
I'm Jeremy. Hats off, dude. Any guy that says I'm whacking the doe with the buck standing over there, 75 yards, I'm all about him.
Yep.
Good for you, dude. Congrats. That's a double.
That was the first story of 2025.
I haven't heard one since last year.
That was wild. Can't wait for those jokes to be done. Give it a week.
Haven't killed a deer since last year either.
Oh, my goodness. No, you haven't killed a deer in 2 years.
Yeah. That really sounds bad.
I haven't killed a deer since last year.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I killed a deer.
So we're going to start there?
Sure.
I think we should.
I think we should start with
Da-da-da-da.
Mr. December has got a new name.
Chains. We called this deer Chains. It's my favorite deer name, and unfortunately, he only had it for about 2 months until he died. I freaking love that name. It's got to be one of my favorite names we've ever had for a deer.
It's a good name.
I do have an updated name, and I will get to
We
that.
should leave him up here. Look at the mass. That's what I love about this deer is how heavy he is.
Yeah, he's pretty gnarly. We actually filmed this deer during the summer, not on one of our places. Me and Dad were just looking for deer one night and saw him. And that was the only time we saw him until we got another picture of him in late November.
Warren saw him before he grew. I mean, he just saw bases of him basically in the summer. You were going fishing, weren't you?
No, I was going to till the food plot, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I just saw that. I mean,
Huge
he was
base.
he was about to right there. And I mean, he was just gigantic bases, and I knew that he would be something. I didn't know what he was going to be, but
Well, and that is right?
I mean,
In
having
late
almost
November,
a 4-inch circumference out there on an 8 like that
Oh,
is
yeah.
crazy.
yeah, would it go just under 4?
I think it was 3 and 7 or something.
Yeah.
I just wonder why. It's like he was trying to throw stuff out here, and then it
Well, he did have that.
He had
one, I
other
think.
stuff, and some of it's broken.
We did look at the video.
We looked at the
this summer.
video, and there was another point there.
Yeah.
He's missing one, which doesn't make sense to me. How in the heck he breaks
That
down here, but this tine on the inside doesn't get broken? Like
And there
especially
wasn't
if you
anything
got
of
dents in it.
this.
That side, I don't
that
think
didn't.
anything
We
extra.
didn't see that there
I wonder if he broke that in velvet, because that looked like it would have been
Something.
early.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So you guys have known this deer for at least 2 years. I had not, besides this summer, seeing him. And then where we're actually hunting him is also where Dad killed both of his bucks this year. And I was not of the intent of killing this deer. I had gone about my late muzzleloader tag simply for the sake that we were trying to take my girlfriend to kill her first deer. And one of the places we were going for that is where I shot the buck we called Heavy that we discussed last week on the podcast, because he is alive, and he was alive and well. So I figured if he came anywhere within shooting distance, I'd shoot him with a muzzleloader. It'd be kind of a cool story. I'd also never killed anything with the gun. I mean, besides 2 coyotes. And so this day, I had to convince her to go. Actually, she was not wanting to go very much. I was like, I think that if you want a chance of killing a deer, we should go. It's gonna be a good day. I
Northwest wind,
we should
cooling off.
Yeah, I said I think we should go back to where we went, where Heavy was at, because we saw almost 50 deer, or if not more. And I figured just a matter of time with one of these other bucks for her to shoot would come out. But she didn't want to go that far because it was New Year's and we needed to go to dinner and all this, that, and all this crap, you know. But it was worth it. And I said, okay, well, we should still go. We could go over to a different place that's got some massive freaking turnips, and that is great this time of year. And we'd just gotten a fresh snow. So I was like, I think we should give her a go. We had to take the heater for her, make sure her tootsies were warm. And so while we're sitting in the blind, she's not understanding the heater. Was pretty freaking funny because she either was burning her socks or was like scared of it because she thought she was burning her feet. So, but then she got comfortable. She was good. I made her take her boots off and stuff, and she was sitting there. But of course, within like 30 minutes, the thing was already a used propane, so it went out. And I was like, oh boy, she's not going to last too much longer if we don't get this replaced. So I smartly had brought a replacement just in case. And about 3:15, I'm replacing this sucker, and I made noise, which I hate making noise. Like I clanked it on some kind of metal, and it kind of tweaked me out. So I picked my head up just to make sure there wasn't anything still there, which there hadn't been. And of course, there was something there, and there's a deer walking right into the field. And I'm like, oh crap, there's a deer coming. And then I said, oh crap, there's a big deer coming. And then I looked at my binoculars. I said, that's a shooter. Holy cow. And she had known, I will say, I definitely felt a little selfish in this, but with her first deer, there was 2 deer there that I told her that if they came in, I would probably shoot them. I had been carrying my bow. I told her that day that I was only going to be taking the muzzleloader, so if one of those 2 comes in, I would probably shoot them. Other than that, we've got like 5 or 6 over there that she could shoot. And that was not for the sake of just being a jackass. That was for the sake of I'm terrified that she really loves hunting right now, and I'm terrified to her to shoot a big deer, especially the first one, and then
Okay.
And then be done.
All right. That's why
yeah.
I kicked my girlfriend out of the way and took the gun.
No. You got to be honest here. It was a 50-50 deal. 50% of it was that. The other 50% was it's a big deer. But anyways, I saw him coming, and I said, that's a big freaking deer. And luckily, it made me feel a little better because she said, you need the gun? And I was like, oh, yeah, I need the gun. and so while he's coming in, I started to think in my head, I was like about to give her the camera so she could film it. And at that point, I was like, you idiot. I hadn't like sat and like shown her how to use the camera and stuff very well at all at that point. And so before I did that, I was like, okay, he's just walking into the field. I think I should just film this because who knows? Because the other thing I was terrified about was if she was holding on to it, her jumping when I shot.
Yeah.
And so I just said, screw it, I'll just film it. And so she hands me the gun and everything. And I'm like, I was actually flustered, weirdly. I did not think that me shooting a deer with a gun would get me going. But I think it's because I was in the mindset of I was filming her to shoot something. I was not mentally prepared for myself to be shooting something. So he comes walking out, and I made sure that where he stopped in the field, he's eating a freaking turnip the size of my head. And I figured he wasn't going to go anywhere, so when I leaned up onto we were sitting in a grizzly blind, so when I leaned up on the window, it was kind of like I went into kill mode a little bit. I felt like I was sitting on a bench practicing with my guns and stuff, and I have no issue squeezing the trigger on. I don't slap nothing there. And just slowly, I even held my breath, everything, and squeezed the trigger, and right when I shot that sucker, I mean, the footage is perfect, and he runs off, and I did not know if I hit him good or not. I've never shot anything with a gun. So I was like, she's like, did you hit him? I said, I'm pretty sure I smoked him, but I have no idea. I can't see. He was standing there for a second. I looked through my binoculars. I couldn't see a hole or anything. Couldn't see an exit hole. And so I kind of was a little worried, but that only lasted about 10 seconds because then he tipped over. So it worked out.
We timed it. It was, 16 seconds?
Yeah, I think so.
16 seconds from time bullet impact to dead.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever check the camera?
No, you asked us that 3 times.
We haven't been
I
back
thought
there
you'd
since.
taken the card out and just hadn't looked at it yet.
No, we hadn't grabbed the card.
Oh, see, I thought you grabbed the card when you grabbed the deer and stuff.
No, there's a chance that I got the shot on the trail camera too.
Well,
because
the
standing
thing
in front of it.
I'd be very curious to know is this is not we're talking about this deer kind of like we know him really well. We had
one video of him last year. That's it.
One picture, I think, of him this year on November 10th. I know we did. I'm not asking. I know we did at like 4:02 p.m. I don't think there was a single other.
Yeah, we had one.
Oh, no. Then we did a couple times in the food plot
Mm-hmm.
before gun season opened.
Yep.
Then over the course of gun season, nothing.
He disappeared.
Which is what I was expecting he was going to be in there more because the year prior, that was the only time that we had him was during gun season. And so then I'd have been really curious to see if it had been like something like what I'm dealing with this deer where he was actually coming out in the food plot like
consistently
every day, or often, or we just got really lucky. You got really lucky.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he was coming in there some, but I don't think he was down there all that much.
Well, for him to be out there at 3:30.
Oh, he definitely walked. The way he walked out, it was like he was used to it, like he was comfortable. It was the only deer we had seen so far. We didn't bust any going in, and when he came out, it was kind of weird to watch. He's definitely a mature deer, and a big deer, not give a crap in the world about anything. Like he was totally in his own world. So
that's what makes me kind of feel like he's been.
That's
going out there.
When we'll check the camera, and maybe we can give everyone an update. I think the thing that I think was so cool is last year that field did not come in that great. It came in some, but it wasn't fantastic.
This is the one for any of you guys that watched on social media that I kept giving myself crap for. I was like, if you guys want to know Easton's a terrible planter, this is the field that you guys have seen me like. I think I planted it twice with beans, and it didn't take for crap. Both times, and we could not get anything done. And
so what happened was, and I know we talked about this on the podcast because it was a major deal, that we bought a new disc this year meaning I hadn't used it yet, and we go over there and we're going to disc this field up and we're going to try to plant one more time. And this is late. We're now pushing into August, and not that early August isn't normal to plant turnips and stuff, but there was some rain coming. And so Easton and I are talking about it, and we call a buddy of ours. You guys may remember Shane. So what do you think about this? If we did this, because we haven't had time to kill it, we haven't had time. We're going to spray it, then disc it, and then go.
Yep.
And so anyhow, we said, well, we're going to have to see what happens. Well, we get over there, and we've never used this disc before, and we don't realize that there is supposed to be a stop on it, and there's not. And so we bend the hydraulic cylinder on the disc. And when I say we bent it, I mean,
there was no getting it back. Like you could not transport mode it.
Yeah, so we couldn't do anything with it. So Shane comes over to help us because I'm like, I think if we could get it bent back, and I'm trying to Google all this and find out maybe with the wrong cylinders on here and all this. We use the forks and we lay it on the
this is not
disc.
OSHA approved.
Yeah, definitely not OSHA approved. And this hydraulic cylinder is probably 2 inches in diameter, something like that. It's big. It's not a small one. But we bent that sucker back straight enough to get the disc to move. Well, in moving it, we did it again. Realized what we had done, though, and now we understood what was going on. And so, long story short, we were able to bend it one more time and get it enough to use it. We knew not to go too far. But my point with this is if you guys are out there this summer, and there's something you're going, man, I don't want to redo this one more time. I don't want to go back and check that camera one more time. I don't want to go put in a water hole. I don't want to do that one more thing, because December 31st, it paid off. That only reason that deer was there was because of those turnips the size of his head that are in there.
If I would put a lot of money on if we had left it, that
nothing would have been in there.
We even watched it when it did grow a little bit. The beans did, and there wasn't anything in there. And granted, that's partly time of year, but also there was no food. It's sand, pretty much.
Yep.
And finally, when we got the turnips to grow, the leaves started popping up, deer started showing up. And so, yeah, that one was like, holy crap, thank God we did that. But
that honestly, though, makes Mr. December so much worse.
Oh, I know.
Because now it ain't even at the beginning of the
That's
month.
that's exactly what I said.
Now you need to explain what.
Yeah.
So he's got a new name.
I've got a new name, though.
Mr. December is now
I've earned
Dr.
it.
December.
No. Listen, I was talking to one of our podcasters, old Jake again, and he said, isn't the average doctorate degree 4 to 6 years? And I think it's like some of them are 8 years, but anyways, the average of that is 5 years. And he said, how many years in a row have you killed a deer in December? I said, well, this time it's 2 years in a row. Then I had a year gap. Then it was 3 years in a row. So I've done it 5 years. I mean, it's freaking ridiculous. And he said, well, that's right in the doctorate degree. So is it safe to say that we're calling you now Dr. December instead of Mr. December? I said, you're damn right. You got Dr. December here.
There you go.
See, that's how I knew I was just screwed, because I'd never killed one in December. So I never had that long. So once November was out, I was like, uh-oh.
You're still trying to get your doctorate.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't want a doctorate. Not in December. I'm
No,
willing
it's
to give up a year.
It's a painstaking process.
You know the crazy thing about this deer?
Mm.
We were trying to explain to you how big he is, because you're like, it doesn't score that great.
I was happy. Hey, that makes me sound bad. I was so happy that he went what he did, because he wasn't going to beat my biggest bow deer. And
he was what, 155?
Yeah, rough score, 155.
Okay, so he was 155, like you guys see right here. Do you either of you guys remember what this time was?
7.
7 something.
It was 7.
Mm-hmm.
7, like
same
7
as
and
what
6.
touches was.
7 and 3 or 7 and 6.
Okay, so you realize that's basically 148-inch freaking 6-point.
No, I did not think of that.
True. No brow tines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his brow. I mean,
He's got
let's
one.
take away his inch there and his inch there. So
This one did too, didn't it?
Yeah, so we're at like 144
45
inch
Yeah.
6-point.
Yeah.
That is hard.
That makes sense why I was looking at him like, oh, he's so freaking big. Holy
He
cow.
was big. I mean, I love mass, and this deer's got mass.
And his beams are super long.
The only thing I find that's a little weird is I expected his rack to be
heavier.
Yes. I wonder why that is.
Not as
I
We've
dense.
like
always
this
talked
side.
about that.
Yeah.
The,
Well,
the porousness.
See, I had to notice. Look on the right side of that main beam right there. You see those, like, it's like,
the knobs.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah,
He's a very
sick deer.
characteristic deer. I mean,
Chains is a good name for him.
oh, I was actually upset about that. I'm like, Dad, you need to come with another one like that. And I just feel like he was a deer walking out of prison.
Well, the funny thing was he didn't think he had shot chains until I didn't know he had shot. I'm thinking the whole time when we're walking up on it, he told me that there was a different deer that he had shot.
Well, I screwed up in the fact that the deer I have been hunting, I know those ones, and I haven't been hunting here. I haven't been hunting the other place, and so basically it's a Dad's like, yeah, there's this buck that's a 10 and this buck and whatever, and then outside of that, to be honest, I was kind of second guessing myself when I was going with Hannah, because I was like, man, I don't know all of the ones he said are the shooters, like the crappier or like the cull bucks
Right.
or whatever. I was like, oh, I can trust myself enough to, number one, I know Dad's taste, and number two, I know it's pretty easy to tell if these are one of these bucks that we're trying to get rid of. And when I saw him, all I saw was this inline tine, and Warren gives me a bunch of crap, rightfully so, I suppose. But in my head, I was thinking the deer I filmed. I was like, oh, that's the buck I filmed. And I don't know where I freaking mixed up the names, because I totally told them it was a different buck that is bigger than this one even.
When he picked him up, and turned him to me, I'm like, where's the deer's eye guard? The deer that he explained has big eye guards, like 6-inch, 7-inch eye guards, and I'm like, there's no. He broke both of his eye guards off. And
I will say though, when we looked at the trail cam, there's 2 trail camera videos of them both in the same field. Their right side is very similar, except for eye guards. That's it.
Okay.
I think they look.
The other one doesn't
his
have
right side on the other one is the goofy small side.
It has the 3 tines like this.
Yeah, but it's like
and then an eye
compared
guard,
to its left side, it's way smaller.
Well,
his right side's huge.
I was okay with the fact that I at least envisioned the right deer. I just said the wrong deer, so it's whatever.
Well, you killed a good one, no matter what.
Picture, I was pretty surprised.
Well, that's not Mr. Mitch or Mini Mitch.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's chains.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, the deer you shot.
Oh, yeah, I knew. Dad said, am I good to send this picture? I said, yeah, you can send it. I just know I'm about to catch a lot of crap.
Okay.
But
that was cool. Well, congrats again. I mean, even if it took all 365 days of 2024 to kill one.
Literally, holy cow.
You got one.
Yep.
On the last day,
that's
2 hours.
about within 10 minutes of when I shot my deer the last year with you in December.
Yeah, but that one was at the beginning of the December.
Yeah, it was a bow split still.
Okay.
Well, you got 10 days left. Or
Got
not
10 days left.
8 days, I guess. Now we're down to January 10th is the last day of our season. So if anyone's out there still hammering away, keep doing it. Don't give up yet. And boy, Iowa, we got the weather coming for it. That's going to help a bunch.
Yeah,
it should.
I guess should I give them an update on that real quick?
Yeah, because you actually have gotten an update now, and we can blame these guys. It's always fun to do that.
Yeah. So I've been chasing the same deer that I've told you guys about. That's pretty consistent, and I did a little diagnosis the other day, doing one of Easton's things, thinking too hard, and went and looked at the winds and everything, and told him, I said, well, if all these statistics are correct, tomorrow he should come out because everything is
lined up,
is exactly what he's the most consistent done. I said, and so I have some pretty entertaining interviews in there for me filming myself yesterday. They should probably go watch. So now I don't have a cameraman to screw this up. I'm going to see this deer. And if I didn't see the deer, then my thought was he absolutely knows
that you're there,
that I'm there. Otherwise, it's just been each time, because this deer has been pretty consistent on going out into this field, that he knew. If I didn't see him, and if he didn't, then he doesn't know, and he's just been lucky the other times. So I ended up seeing him at 354 or something. So I think he doesn't know, but he came out.
You don't think that the other days you guys have been in there, though, if it lined up right, that he may have known then?
I think he did the one day. I think he did the one day with Eli when I tried it with a southwest wind. And then I got a picture of him going out the other side at 5:20. I think he winded us that day. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think he did. And now I think, though, that I think he's going to keep doing it. The problem is just where is he going to come out? I haven't taken the muzzleloader out. I've been using my bow because where it is, I feel like it's kind of hard for him if he does come up to not come by me.
Well, how far was he yesterday?
Probably 120.
Oh, see, I thought that he was still like within 60 or 70 yards the way you.
He came out of where they all. So now is what I think is going on is with the snow and everything, that they are all bedded in like a 2-acre patch in that thick part up there.
Yeah.
Because it was just. I saw 2 deer that are 160 plus, and then 140 some inch deer, and then like 6-7 other bucks that were there, and then several does come out of there, and they all came out of. I know how big that thing is. It ain't that big. So I think it's just with the snow and everything now that there's the only place where there's enough cover there. And so they're all piled in there. And so I was telling Easton I might be able to move up one tree that he could have possibly been within 40 when he came out. I don't know for sure. And I wasn't about to walk down there with all of them out in the field once he went out there. So a couple more days to try him. I might get really brave here and try something else with a different wind.
If you get it.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's there.
Well, I think it's good that you at least saw him now.
So
you guys only seen him once before that, hadn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a tip, though, for people, because we were talking about it yesterday, and because the thicket that you're talking about is a cedar thicket.
Well, that's the only thing that make me kind of be like, it might be worth trying that, is because now maybe they are, and with more snow and stuff, maybe they're all piling in there.
Yep.
And they're going to keep coming out of there, and so then the one day that I have the wind, I know to go up to the corner of that, where that fence corners, they all jump right there. And the reason I haven't done it is because I'm concerned that nobody's going to be able to get by you. So unless he's the first deer, you
got to pray that if somebody winded you, they would take off out into the field farther.
Yeah, because if he goes back into there,
runs everyone out,
taking all of them. And yesterday he was the second. I mean, he came out with the other one. The other one would walk by you first, but you might have been able to
get a shot before.
Yep. And then because otherwise you need a straight east wind, and I just don't know, especially in January, that our chances of getting that is very good.
Yeah.
So
we just had a south wind, which wouldn't say that was very common either, but
yeah, that's true. So,
but anyhow, the cedar thing is kind of like the food of choice right now. I mean, like I saw them hit someone's field that left beans, and so if you got standing beans, and they are now going there. The field that you're hunting is corn. The field you were hunting was turnips. I mean, all these different agriculture. Alfalfa is another huge. That's where we saw 50 deer the other night, is in an alfalfa field. So they're like.
I think it just really helps people narrow it down.
Well, my
corn, beans, or alfalfa.
No, but I'm not talking about what they're feeding on. I'm talking about what if you got the right bedding area, they are close food source to a big cedar thicket, and I would try to be as close to that cedar thicket as I could possibly be, because I can't tell you how many sheds we pick up in and around the cedar areas because of when it's cold. And you were talking about yesterday, where, is it a thermal factor? What is it? I think it's the fact that it's so dense that it keeps the snow and everything off there. They can get under there and lay on the ground and heat the ground up rather than laying in the snow. I don't know that that's true, but that's what it appears like to me, because there's always less snow underneath those cedars.
I think it's that, and I think it's a cover aspect. So after I watched that YouTube video, after we were listening to those studies,
right,
I got on a huge kick of watching all their videos pretty much. And the video they did that was the most mind-blowing thing to me was they took a 6-foot PVC pole.
I've seen this one.
And they went out to the places that were in a mature buck's core area. And they went to the places that he never bedded, and to the places that he did bed. And all of the places that he never bedded was like that really open, like anywhere timber, like that cattle have been through, and it's
right.
Don't they have marks on the PVC too?
Yes.
Like, see how high?
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally not once did a mature buck ever bed in that. And then they went to the stuff that they did bed in, and almost every time you could hardly even see that stuff, which has made me feel a little bit better about getting into some things, because I'm like, okay, the odds of them actually being able to see me is not that good. But then also is telling me where they want to bed. I don't know that they want to have to like fight through the super thick stuff, but they want to have stuff around them. If you think, especially when there's snow and everything, a lot of that cover, even that other cover, is gone because the snow is matting it down, where the cedars are still close enough and tight enough that makes a lot of sense.
That's something else that I noticed the day I killed Chains. When we were walking through that, we have where we walk in is CRP. And this is the best year we've ever had. Our CRP is like 7-8 foot tall and is freaking thick. And so we know a lot of deer bedding in it. Within a day, when we got that snow, I walk up there, I'm like, holy crap, I guarantee not a single deer's bedding in it right now because it's all flattened. And so I wonder if that was another factor in the fact that he was down lower timber, because he was in the timber, and because we do know that he likes to hang out in that CRP or around it the most. And so when that's gone now, that just took out freaking tons of bedding from them.
About 50 acres.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I bet that, I mean, when you get the snow, it knocks a lot down. But that, I just thought of that I noticed that walking in, that I was like, there's no way there's a deer bedding out here right now. It's like a wide open field.
We'd love to tell you guys that we know all this, but some of this stuff just you pick up on, and you got to do that, man. And luckily there's 3 of us that are all hunting, and our camera guys, and everyone's adding. Someone picks up on something, all of a sudden you check it. Okay, let's see if he does that with the wind like this next time. Oh boy, he did it. Or no, they didn't do that, so it really didn't matter. I think we're all like, I'm 56 years old, and I still ain't figured these deer out. I mean, as much as I'd love to tell you I killed 2 deer this year because I'm that smart, nope, I just got that lucky. And so, I mean, it'd
be boring if you could figure them out, like, to a T.
To a T, but it would be nice to figure out some things a little better.
Because then It's not hunting anymore. Now you know.
No, it is hunting. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to figure it out from a trail camera or anything. I want to figure it out.
I'm saying like if there was ever like a where you do this and that equals this, this, and this,
and you
hunting would get boring.
Yeah, if it was a guarantee, it would not be fun.
The other thing though is it doesn't matter how much you know. Like you could. I mean, it does matter. It all helps, but you can have some of the most definitive answers that, for instance, your deer, likes to go one way or another depending on what the weather and temperature and the wind is, and you can calculate a little bit. Like, I bet that this is everything that's falling into place here. There's still going to be days where he ain't going to do it, just or because a coyote ran through and busted him, so he's on the other side. And he said, "Screw it, he's going this way or that." I mean, no matter what, no matter how well you figure it out, there's always variables.
Yeah, for sure. All right, are we going to talk about antler growth?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to read this though before I think we should talk about this. This came from Garrett Pate.
Okay.
And this will be kind of quick, I think. You could just basically he's asking our opinion. He says, "So I was in Ohio for their and I'll read what he has and then I'll read what he meant." He says, "I was in Ohio for their 2-gay gun season." But I'm going to assume he meant 2-day gun season. Over the weekend, had no cell service, so the sits were really long. I was sitting there thinking, what are the odds of shooting 160, 170, 180, 190, 200-inch deer? Then I was like, let me ask Dave Warren in Easton. Not sure if this is a topic, but just curious. I know the state I'm in, a deer of that caliber is very hard to find. But do you think social media has ruined or hurt hunting? Not sure what I am trying to ask. See giant deer killed, does that give hunters false expectations? So seeing big deer get killed. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas. So basically he's just asking the question, do we think social media is giving us the wrong expectations when we go on hunts and things like that?
I think if you don't know how to take it, 100% it does. Like if you don't know how to filter what's realistic expectations and what's not, absolutely it's hurt tremendously. And I think that the biggest place it hurts is new hunters, because all they do is get on social media and they just see the biggest of the big, and they see like it's basically a highlight reel of what everybody's killing, versus a lot of those guys have probably killed a lot of freaking dinks, a lot of forked horns, a lot of basket racks or whatever else, but this is a big one that they found or they killed or something, or they killed this one this year. They're not doing that every year.
Yeah, you're seeing that one, the one from the last 20 years.
Yes.
That was big enough that it went viral.
Yeah.
Right.
And like even this deer, he is a big deer. And for me, if you look at my social media, you'd see that there's some big deer on my social media. But you wouldn't know just at a glance of it that I've spent 50 days freaking hunting with not seeing anything. And so the expectation is, oh, well, he went out during late muzzleloader season in a couple days and shot a freaking toad. It ain't going to be that big of a deal, or I could kill that big of a deer. When in all reality, you don't know everything that went behind it. So I do think social media has been a detriment. But I also think that it's cool. I think it's a big positive, too, because it's fun to see the big deer and everything that people are shooting. But like I said, it's kind of like the news. You can watch the news, and there's all kinds of bad crap, this, that, and the other. But unless you know how to filter out what is legit and what they're just feeding BS to you, it isn't good.
Yeah, you got to be. I mean, I'll use like Trophy Bucks of Iowa. They put all deer on there.
Yep.
However, you scroll through till you find the big one.
Yep.
So you feel like, man, they're killing lots of big ones. I mean,
Or one you know.
Oh,
yeah.
But
yeah.
but when
Yeah,
you're
I
going
do tend
through
to pay
there,
attention to that.
you're looking at those big deer. And that's what catches people's attention. If someone went to your site, and saw, they're only going to see the successes. There's not a picture of every day going nothing. It's the same thing we used to explain when we were producing the television show. It takes about 5 days for every 5 minutes of what we are actually putting on air. That's about what it works. I mean, it looks like, because all people see is a few episodes, and in almost all the episodes, you kill something. And in a lot of television, it is every episode. They don't air anything unless they kill something. And that's just not reality. I mean, I don't care who they are. Unless they're doing something illegal, they probably aren't that successful to kill something every single time they go out. And we weren't, and we aren't, and we still. But I don't think that. I don't know that. So I would blame social media. I mean, yes, that's getting around quicker and everything, but TV's adds to that everything. It's just, we're all more connected now. But at the same time, what I do think is it does the flip side, is you see these deer, and because I can remember when I used to come to Iowa and hunt, and I didn't live here, and you're sitting in a tree, and man, the whole time you're going, oh my gosh, the freaking 250-inch whopper could walk by, because I saw a picture or something like that of one that existed. The worst thing that you could ever do before you go on a whitetail deer hunt, I don't even know if they're still making the magazine, is North American Whitetail. North American Whitetail, every article, I promise, if you go back into the 80s and 90s, every article, there's like 10 or 12 per episode, was about a big deer. And it wasn't a big deer. It was like the Hanson buck, and I mean these giant deer. You do not want to flip the pages of that and then go sit in a tree stand in any state, including Iowa. You're probably not going to see something like that. They were like a 1 in a million type deer. And so you got to be careful with how you take it. So, because at the same time, seeing something like that though, and then going and sitting in a stand, you're always thinking, man, it could happen to me.
Yep.
You know, I could see that.
So what was the question again?
His question was, do we think it was a detriment? Because he was sitting there hoping, started thinking to himself, what are my chances of seeing a 160 to 200-inch deer? And should he even be doing that? Should he be thinking, you know,
is it realistic?
Is it realistic, or are my expectations too high?
Because he's seen all the pictures around there that are like that. Yeah.
In his area though too?
In his state.
Well, maybe that helps though, because he's in New York or something, right?
I don't know. I'm not positive. The
Ohio.
state that he was hunting was Ohio. I'm not positive that that's where he lives.
Yeah. I mean,
Ohio's got some big deer, depending on where you're hunting in Ohio.
Sometimes, though, too, it may help you realize that there's bigger deer in your state than you think. Because you
Possibly.
might have some people that it's like, oh, they're killing the tanker all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think I agree with
but
you
even
guys.
that you got to take into consideration, because some of the places these guys, like, they might have a really good spot, or they found that little honey hole that they've got big deer running around. Well, 10 miles away, it might not be the same. It might not be exactly like you're going to find that caliber of deer, so you may be holding out for something that's not there. Or maybe taking away from something that is there, that is big, thinking that it should be bigger.
Yeah, I think it's
all relative.
Are we going to talk about antler quality today, or we're not doing that one now?
I wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, I feel because where I was going to go with that is if you do look at, I think that as far as what you're saying, I think that's completely true. Because if New York, every time we've ever been anywhere near those, all those guys do is complain about the size of their deer.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to Pennsylvania and Michigan. However, Eddie has shown me deer, I think it's on Staten Island or something like that,
That's
that
what I was
are
talking about last
freaking
weekend.
huge.
Yeah.
Like 180, 190, 200 type deer. And the only difference is they just don't get killed. They're not
huntable. You're
Right.
not allowed to hunt it. Yeah.
So I honestly, outside of the western states, because we did see places like that. Like I'm thinking of remembering like the Broken O and stuff, where those deer weren't getting, not that many of them were getting killed at least, and they still weren't getting into the 170, 180 inch
The
range.
Milk River was a big one.
Yeah, but even them, I don't think, like 160 was probably.
Jackie
killed some
Jackie had
170s.
some. He killed it. I think his biggest might have been 180 even. But we're talking 20 years of hunting it.
They also
You-
were how many deer were going out there into each of those fields at night.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah, so it's very, very small.
But,
Right,
I mean,
no, very
that's
small
That's
percentage.
that's an example of somewhere where you could have the really big deer and see the really big deer on social media and stuff. But then you go to like where our lease was when we lived there. Dad killed a 161 there. 161, right?
That was
yeah,
the biggest deer.
that was absolutely unreal big to us.
Well, I'm just saying that basically if you drew a line at like from Nebraska east, something like that, I think that almost any of those states, with maybe the exception of the South, like Florida, Mississippi, some of those places, if all those deer, if nobody could kill them, I think they would all have 200 type deer.
Yeah. Yeah, they
'Cause
have it set up. Yeah.
They're just huge, as long as they aren't getting killed.
If Wilbur Primos is listening to us, he's gonna be pissed that you just dissed his state,
I didn't
Mississippi.
diss his state. I just say I don't know that
Well, he
their
killed.
likelihood is near.
Well,
as
he
much
killed a
as the other
booner
ones.
there. That was his whole goal, was to kill a solid Boone and Crockett deer. It
Yeah.
took him several years to do it. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a badass deer. All right, if we're gonna talk about antler quality, we better do it.
All right. Well, the question was from another. This is a podcast request as well. Was is antler growth as a whole, whether we believe it is feasible, number one, but antler growth as far as the best time to be benefiting it, and that would be like in the season, out of the season, what time of year, as well as on top of that is like your food plots, what you're using for antler growth, or is it like feeding, like putting food out for them? And then do you think that it's possible to actually make a difference? So, I mean, there's just a lot. I mean, a lot of this there is some statistics on it and stuff, but I think a lot of it is opinion, and a lot of it is also based on what your ability is to do certain things.
And what's legal,
Yeah.
what you can do. I mean,
so my first one would be food plots is not the point of a food plot, in my opinion, most cases, is not for antler growth. Yes, it may help them get more nutrition or better nutrition in certain areas, but the benefit of a food plot is getting the deer there and getting them into certain areas where maybe they don't, or putting it where is convenient for them. I don't think that is a forefront thought for planning a food plot is antler growth. At least it's not for me. That's not my.
Well, I mean, there's another way to look at that, though. I mean, I don't disagree with you that when you plant a 2 acre or 1 acre or a quarter acre food plot, you're not creating enough nutrition to change chains, by a significant amount. But that food plot could end up being a food source that deer uses to not go other places where he's susceptible to getting shot, and you get him through another year. So there's another way of looking at that, I think, because I think all of it can help somehow.
I'm talking directly correlating to antler growth.
Right.
There could be 140 that if you could give him enough, he could get to 150, 160, something like that.
Okay, so we're trying to. Is there anything we could do that would definitely have a distinct
percentage increase
difference
to
in that deer? We need a deer farmer.
Yeah, we're gonna have a biologist at one point that's coming on here
this month.
Well, because what do they feed deer? What do they feed those deer, or is it all genetic?
No, that's genetic.
They're
they feed
feeding
them a lot, and they also have like dietary certain like different supplements and everything they're giving, as well as shots and stuff too. That is
like steroids. Oh yeah,
but healthy.
So they just grew a 400
HGH.
I guess.
They just grew.
They also have a bench press out there for them when they need it.
Yeah.
So I met a deer farmer here 2 months ago. I was at a gas station, and he saw me in camouflage, asked if I was hunting. I said, yeah. Long story short, he tells me that they he said, I had a deer farm. I don't have it anymore, and it was 6 miles away. And he said, but I had 49 deer, and the largest deer he ever grew was just shy of 300, like 200 and something inches. And I asked him, I said, did you grow these for velvet? Did you grow them for selling the meat? Or he said, no, I sold the deer to places that hunted them. So he didn't hunt, people didn't hunt him on him. He just sold him a deer, and then people would go shoot it. So, but anyhow, he said they just grew. Because I was like, man, they're growing these crazy big deer. And he said, oh, yeah, that's nothing. He said, they're up to like 500 or 600 inches. And I had not heard that. Mom and I did a seminar a few years ago in Pennsylvania.
They just showing it was 1,000 or something.
It could be, because he quoted 600 is what he said. But this is what he told me. He said they just grew a yearling, a 1.5-year-old 400-inch deer in Iowa.
Good Lord.
How can
Warren has zero reaction to that.
How could he even lift his head?
I borderline think that should be animal abuse.
Well,
because I'm telling you, there is a new one. I'm telling you that I just saw this the other day. Here we might have it. 1,011 inches.
What does it look like?
Just
what the heck? In velvet?
Just a conglomeration.
How would
of
he even
shit.
get all the velvet off?
Well, that and like how that deer, it can't even see. I don't feel like.
That's nuts. Nick will have to post that picture.
Oh, there it is on the hoof.
Oh,
like I feel like that's almost like that should be.
Wonder if that took multiple days to score.
And it's ugly as hell.
Anyways, I think outside of that, I mean, my opinion. I have two opinions on it, and they're totally opposite. To the average guy, and I'm including ourselves in there, I don't think it is all that. I don't think it's all that possible to make a big difference in the deer antler growth. I think you can help with their health levels and everything, which obviously would correlate some to their antler growth potentially. But I think that the amount in which it takes, I mean, they're eating, I think, 15 to 20 pounds of food a day on average. And that's very variance depending on where you're at in the size of deer and everything. But like around here, it's like 15 to 20 pounds of food that a deer consumes in a day, or a mature deer consumes in a day.
That seems like a lot.
It is a lot. That was from a biologist.
I've never heard a number, but
with
it just
that,
seems like a lot.
in my opinion, number one, you are trying to if you put out the proper food that has the right protein and the supplements and stuff that is going to actually help them grow and all of the fancy terms in order to grow them large. Number one, getting them enough of it is going to be a massive bill. You're going to be spending a lot of money in doing so. And number two is it is a wild animal. There is no guarantee that $1 or that $10 that are right there are going to be consuming 10 to 15 pounds of that a day, or however much they actually need for however long they need to have that to actually affect the antler growth as a whole. Now, I do think that there's places where you can be feeding year-round. You can maybe even be baiting throughout the season and stuff like that, where you can keep enough food there and consistently enough that, yeah, you could see a difference. But when it comes to an average dude, one bag of Big Time ain't going to do you any good. I mean, you might get some pictures, but that one bag ain't going to freaking grow you 10 inches next year on your big boy. So I think there's a big misconception when it comes to feeding as well. Now, we do feed definitely during the winter.
Or if you're going to, how much do you think they could possibly expect to add? Because I think some guys might be thinking, oh, this deer made a 25-inch jump because I was giving it food.
Well, see, we've seen 25-inch jumps without any food around besides just the agriculture that they're eating.
Yeah, like that one always cracks me up when I see guys doing that on for their marketing. Bill killed this deer, and he did a 25. As soon as we started feeding ABC brand, he did a 25-inch jump. Okay, well, he also went from 3 years old to 4 years old.
The drop 12, and I agree with Easton. I mean, because we do put food out when we can, when it's legal, which it's legal to actually put it out all year long in Iowa. You just can't hunt it, so we don't. We don't want to have any part of that. We don't
put out anything.
We don't put out anything except for that we put out the hay bales and things like that during the off season when there's no season in. And we don't necessarily. I'm not doing it. Because I'm truly trying to grow an antler off of what they're eating, because I've mixed it with like feed bags and stuff like that. I do hope that but I do think that if we can help take off some of the stress, if it's easy for them to get a bite to eat, and that that's there when those 3 or 4 weeks that we have where it's really, really cold and it's obnoxiously frozen, and now they got a place to get a bite to eat. I think we're helping those deer go into spring a little better off. They're maybe 5 pounds heavier and they're more comfortable, but at the same time we could be helping the does as well. But are we true? Can I absolutely tell you that we've done anything in the 11 years that we've had raised hunting that says we added 10% to an antler? And I can't say that. I could not. Now, I will tell you though that I have talked to some people that do say there is stuff on the market, it's legal, that you can, that they have seen as much as a 20% increase, but they're doing what you're talking about, and that is feeding all year long in a place where they're allowed to, and the deer are coming to this, and they have like one section of a farm.
How is it possible to say that, though?
Because they have one section of the ranch that it has nothing's different, meaning it's like, I want to say it was 5,000.
And then all of them have a 20% increase from the other
yes.
ones.
Or the average.
In that area where they fed, and then in this area where they didn't feed, the deer stayed the same.
Yeah.
And so it was I felt like they had a good argument there to say it does work. However, the bill we were figured out off of it was like $16,000 to feed.
I think that's still low.
I think that's way low for some of them.
Well, and that's what I don't know that. I'm just saying what I did in like simple math. I went, okay, so they did this, this, and this, and you fed that. They're at $16,000, and maybe that's $16,000 per truckload that they're getting, and they took 5 truckloads. I don't know.
I know one guy that has a $28,000 camera data bill a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess the amount that he is feeding is probably more like 50 to 100,000. Yeah. And I think he probably is able to make a slight difference in antlers. But even then, I don't think that it's. I have a hard time believing he's adding 20 inches to those deer.
I don't know. I mean, I think
I don't know. I think
statistically
you
speaking,
could.
you could do it. But again, it comes down to how much money you're willing to spend, or how much money you have to spend, and number two, how much you can get those deer to keep coming and consistently feeding them a significant amount of the food they need.
And I'm not holding back on who this on the name of this company. I don't even know who it was that he was talking about. He told me and I didn't recognize. It wasn't one of the marketable ones that I knew of. But he was saying that
their marketing guy just got fired.
No, but I'm saying he was. I mean they were claiming a 20% increase larger than the deer on the other part of the ranch. Which 20% would be 150-inch deer. You're talking now he's 180.
Yeah.
200-inch deer, you're talking 40 inches.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a substantial increase.
Yeah.
But at what point can you just? It's not. None of us can afford to do that.
See, now I will say though, I do like feeding.
What was he feeding though?
It was a protein. It's a protein pellet
block or something.
No,
okay.
The protein pellet. He told me that.
So they were having to come to a trough to eat these.
Yeah, they
pellets
basically have a deal with. I mean, he showed me a picture even, and it had a roof on it, but then they pull up with a chute, like a concrete truck almost, but it's a feed truck. Shoot it in there, go to the next one, shoot it in there.
A little bit different than everybody else's block.
Yeah. That's the other thing that cracks me up. But then I wish some of the feed companies would just advertise more accurately with, yes, they have the ingredients to grow larger antlers. But again, it all comes to relativeness, how much you're giving to them, how often you're being able to give it to them. Because I'll use Big Time for example, not with what they're advertising, but if you look at their website, they do sell like pallets or like the big things of like it's a big bin basically of like a couple 1,000 pounds of food.
Right.
That's only going to get me so far. I mean, yeah, that's a crap load compared to the 50-pound bag I could go pick up from Baumgars and go throw it out there. But I could go buy that for $1,000 and go put it out, and it might last me a month or two. And is that enough to? Now, I think that maybe if you hit it the right time of year, where maybe it spikes the antler growth in the beginning of their velvet, but I think it's still a stretch to try to.
Yeah, because the problem is you're feeding all the deer, not
just the deer.
Just the $1 or $2 that you're hoping they're eating it.
Yeah, and the other part of that, and I think that we're going to have a biologist on here toward the end of the month, and we're basically going to be talking EHD, but there are some things like that I'd love to ask, because one of the things that I know people will tell you is that the doe is as much a part of it as the buck is on what your genetic is. So are you helping does have better bucks? And you wouldn't know that year. It would be 4 years away or 5 years away before you'd ever know that you helped them.
I think one of the best things you can do if you are going to feed some is, number one, do some research on what to be feeding them, because one of the most popular ones and one of the most popular times to feed is one of the worst things you can be feeding them, and that is corn. You can be giving them corn in the winter, and it's not great for them. Yes, they're eating that naturally and everything, but it's not the best thing you could be feeding them. So if you look at the time of year, in my opinion, from the biology reports and stuff that I've read on these types of things is, depending on your area, when your does are, well, number one, depending on what your winter is, severity-wise, it is very beneficial to have some food sources there for them to be able to live through that sometimes. Now, that's when it gets to extreme temperatures and cold and they can't get food, things like that. But when you get outside of that, then when the does are beginning to get close to dropping their fawns and when the bucks are starting to grow their antlers is some of the most or the best time you can be getting
times
them
to feed them
good food, minerals, things like that, because it's going to help the doe recover. It's going to help the fawn grow healthily. It's going to help the doe get the protein, everything she needs, as well as the bucks, and the most important time that they're growing. So I think it's all a little bit relative. Then, of course, we do all the hay and everything for the winter's sake. Well, I guess alfalfa is what we should be saying. It's not just hay, but for the sake of winter when it's severe or when it's rough, and then on top of that with the hopes that maybe some antlers get dropped around it as well. And that's the extent in which we go to feeding.
So anyhow, so there's our consensus. I think we all are in much of an agreement that if it's legal where you're doing it and you can do it, you're probably not hurting anything. You know, I mean,
You're
they're
definitely not hurting anything.
Well, there's some people that would argue that you can bring all the deer and then they're all going to get sick. But they're going to go to a food source in troubled times that's probably pretty small anyhow, and they're going to be there. Or they're going to go to the same water source, and then they're all there getting a drink. So anyhow, I just feel like that you're not making that big a deal. And the other big one is that you teach those deer to survive off of us. And I don't think we're doing it long enough to – I've fed deer at some off point of time for 30 years, and I've never had one that was, I believe we killed it because it began to rely on the haystack that I put out, or the 2 hay bales I put out in the winter, and then came there and it wasn't there, so it just tipped over and died. Not happened. You know, we don't, I mean.
If a deer dies from that, it deserves to die because that's the laziest deer ever.
So.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, I think Warren has been searching the wacky facts. Easton came up with a pretty good one last week.
Of course he did, if he's a judge.
No, I judged it. I had to give him a green.
You're a lenient judge.
No, this one was, I'm trying to remember what it was.
Are you talking about the fly fact?
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, the flies see in slow motion, hence the reason it's so difficult for you to smack them with your hand.
Yeah, I think that one's whack.
I
It could
thought-
be the fact they have a bajillion eyeballs,
No, it's
so
legit.
they see it coming.
They have
from
2
wherever.
eyeballs.
You got all those little eyeballs things.
No,
on there.
there's only 2 eyeballs on a fly. There's only
well,
2,
they're
but it's
weird-looking
gridded eyeballs, yeah. But they see in slow motion, so they see your hand coming, like, you think it's going, it's really in their head, like,
I haven't had a problem killing them because I'm fast.
yeah, okay. Mr. Miyagi over here.
Uh-huh. In 2011, a 75-year-old woman searching for copper inadvertently cut a fiber optic cable, causing internet outages across an entire country.
An entire country? How do you even do that?
I guess it was like a third world
Cut the-
country.
No
where
crap,
they
it was
go.
their only fiber optic line.
Yeah.
Had to be coming from somewhere, so
Ah.
she cut the one. That's not really a wacky fact.
No.
How is it not?
Well, I guess it is. It is a fact.
And
it's
it's
funny. I just don't know if it's that wacky.
I have another one too.
No judge. Okay.
Humans do not directly sense wetness. Instead, our brains interpret it based on the temperature and pressure signals.
That makes so much sense.
That's weird.
Say that one
Think
more
about
time.
it.
I am trying to think about this like really in depth. So we don't feel water, you're saying.
Humans do not directly sense wetness.
Okay.
So it's not actually the liquid that you're feeling. Our brains interpret it based on the temperature and the pressure signals.
The reason I'm trying to figure how this factors into my plunging every morning. When I get in
Because it's so
The
cold.
temperature.
Right. I know. That's what I'm thinking but at the same time, because I notice that when you get out, especially as the colder it gets, like if it's in the 30s when I get out of the tub, I mean, the tub is 30-some degree water and I get out, you don't feel like there's any water on you at all. It's just cold. You feel dry,
That's
but
this
you're
thing
saying
called numbness.
No, that would probably be because of the pressure. There's no pressure now.
right. You're out of the water.
That's like
Yeah.
That explains why if you have AC heats in your vehicle, it feels like you're peeing.
What?
If you have air conditioning in your seat,
seats in a vehicle, you
Oh.
turn that on. You know, sometimes it's like, ooh,
gives you the sensation you just wet your pants.
yeah, like you think you just peed your pants when
I
it's
haven't
just
had
cold.
that, but
Do you have AC seats in your truck?
no, I only have heated.
See, no, you're not bougie
See?
enough.
Yeah.
You
You-
have
you-
AC seats?
No.
You can ride in my truck if you want.
Yeah, Dad does.
I even have it in the passenger. I'll turn it on for you. And you'll be over there going, I hope he's not looking because I just peed my pants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I need that.
All right.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another Raised Hunting podcast. Again, go to the Raised Hunting website. Check out all the different things that we offer. We're looking forward to seeing you guys there. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully, we'll have another update and our first kill of 2025 when Warren hopefully finally fills his tag. If not, we will be checking on you guys. I am going on a aoudad hunt in the beginning of this month, and so I might not be here in 2 weeks.
That reminds me, because he just said that, not that part, but we have a biologist coming on here. We are going to have other people coming on here. So we need to tell you guys what the guests are and everything. So if you guys have anything that you would like to talk to a deer biologist about, question-wise, there's something you've always wanted
You'll
to
need
ask
to-
one, or
yeah.
you want us to ask for him, we may not be able to get to all of them, But we have a lot of questions. If you guys have stuff, here's your opportunity to talk or get your questions specifically answered by an actual wildlife
Before
biologist.
January 22nd, you got to get before January 22nd, shoot in your messages for a state biologist that's going to come on and talk with us.
Yep.
Pretty
All right.
cool deal.
Well, good luck on your aoudad hunt.
Thank you. I hope I kill one.
Yeah, that'll be cool.